Hey y'all, it's me, Silver. So you might have been wondering, why did 2TMC take so long? I was working on it. But today we're going to be playing Victoria 3 by Paradox Interactive. And today we're going to be playing the nation of Mexico, national capital of tacos and mojitos. Now, we're doing this as a multiplayer game here. I was inspired by that guy from college, and we're playing with the BOG's multiplayer, which includes Sleepy, who is a fellow YouTuber. I'll admit, I've done a little bit of experimentation with Vicky 3, and I thought maybe with 200 hours I could do something good, but I still chose a minor power. I'll admit, my build was not good, and I thought I was doing okay. It was uh it was definitely not the best because we had a US player who wanted Texas, which I later did give. And he wanted the rest of my nation, or at least the American parts. So I was going around to other players, including the Empire of Japan, to see if maybe I can get some support from them to, at least let me keep, California and Nevada. It did not turn out well. And I thought I had some good support from Spain, but our militaries were not capable of defeating the U.S. and Britain was fully backing the U.S. as well. But but I thought I did pretty well up to this point, getting rid of the military dictatorship and installing a president, so the people could be heard. That military is something, I'll admit. Yeah. I also was trying to get some support from France, but I wasn't getting much. I really wasn't. Um, so yeah, I made a whole lot of big mistakes, and I was starting to run out of money by this point. Eventually, the Americans came knocking, and I had to make the hard decision right after getting Napoleonic warfare to to give in to the U.S. demands. Not my proudest moment, but I still actually held claims on a bunch of it. So I knew that maybe if I was lucky in a war, maybe I'd get some of this land back. Mm. Yeah, that definitely he hurt. And then I went bankrupt, so I did the stupid decision of trying to damage relations and then immediately, realizing my mistake, try and improve them with some time. But also, this big rookie mistake I made here, I was like bankrupt at this point, so I decided just to default in bankruptcy to try and fix my economy. Yeah, that's one of my biggest mistakes right there. Well, maybe second biggest compared to losing my land up here. Yep. It wasn't all bad news, however. We did get the British to give us some control of Belize, so that was a token apology, I guess. Uh, Meanwhile, Canada was just, uniting up there. Yeah, I definitely knew I had to incorporate these lands quickly, but they did promise that I could take, Central America up to the Colombians since that was another player. And, well, I did go forth with those conquests, and we can see that Spain was guaranteeing me, so that means, the US couldn't take more. Yeah, so this was after getting both, uh, what was it, Guatemala and I believe Belize? Or not Belize, what am I talking about? Honduras. Uh, yeah, my army was still a little bit, damaged, but I had to, like, try and be careful with the construction centers. I actually bankrupted myself earlier in the game, and I had to, go down on the construction centers because I had like 15, which I couldn't even support. Uh, but I decided to at least redirect my efforts towards a new colony in Mauritania. I don't think the French will mind that. Um, yeah, during this time, the Spanish player was constantly going in and out of major or great power status. So that means like any power block they formed, it wouldn't last long. Yeah, and well, because of my defeat against the Americans, we had a bunch of people not liking us, so we couldn't get wealth voting, at least initially. I believe I tried this a couple of times, but yeah, um, it's it's not been looking the greatest for Mexico, but we're still doing slightly better than real life. Oh, that is just awful. I don't know really why I failed at first. And then I later realized that, I wasn't using edicts much. I had forgotten that edicts were a thing. I could only imagine that my single player Spain game would have been a lot better with edicts. Still, I at least made great power there and understood a little bit about an economy. Yeah, it was definitely not the greatest. So Spain was like glowing up there, getting Portugal and whatnot. Meanwhile, I'm losing against America. So yep, it's definitely not looking good. Uh, but I have been trying to make my situation a bit better. I was looking to see if I could join a power block of sorts, specifically the one for Spain, but I just didn't understand what leverage advantage truly meant. Apparently now I realize that it means they have to like build a bunch of stuff in your country. During this time I was looking around the map, and how seeing what's going on. Canada was a very interesting nation to look at. Looking at the over five, 50% Punjab people there, the bunch of Serbians and Chinese and Americans there. I suppose you could say that that was a very diverse place in the world. I don't know why they would go to Canada of all places, but you know what? Power to them. It's just a lot of extra pops they get to use. Now, we were also looking at religion for a bit, and I actually noticed this a bit later, uh, that there was a bunch of Orthodox and Sunni people. I can't imagine that being very good for the, for the nation. Meanwhile, I'm looking, to increase my well, political parties in any way. I actually ended up changing it a fair bit, so I'm now going to be going towards the military focus. Yeah, I really was just like dropping the ball for this whole game as well as the next game because as of this point I'm actually doing the done the other game, and it was something. Uh, yeah, I think I was just looking to seeing about what's gonna be who should possibly get the island there of Haiti. Uh, France wanted all of it, and they eventually did get all of it. But we were looking to see that hey, there was a bunch of Spanish people there, so maybe Spain should get it. Uh, yeah, during this time, I'm really just like looking around, and it kind of makes me feel a bit like the old YouTuber Drew Nell. You know how he always would take a close look at some of this stuff and see the AI do things, but instead of AI, here I'm actually looking at what players are doing. And we actually have quite a few, players here who are actually just first time people. So it was somewhat interesting. And yeah, I kept getting the landed voting people wanting to be there. Uh, Now I actually did make a mistake earlier in this episode where I said I would eventually give wealth voting. I never actually did. The landowners kept fighting against it and threatening civil wars. I was still slightly salty about the U.S. taking a bunch of my territory, a bunch of my economy, and well, I only have really myself to blame for that since, I could have built the economy in Mexico, but I built it there. It's not the first time in this game that that actually happens. No, or actually the only time, I mean. That was the first time. The next time actually being, well, Genghis, who is on Austria-Hungary. Yeah, that was somewhat of an interesting little thing. Now, yeah, I really was just on this for a long time. I was looking to seeing all those, pops there that used to be mine, and seeing how I can't, use them to better my own industry rather they help the Americans. Uh, yeah, yeah, it was something a bit weird. Um, I eventually realized that, oh, I'd have to cancel on wealth voting since the revolution was getting too close for my liking. Uh, and yeah. So we had like a large support for wealth voting, but it would just not get anywhere. Uh, so you remember this here little colony that I would be making? Well, eventually I would just, cancel it because, France apparently wanted the land, so I'm like, okay, I'll cancel my colonization there. Uh, yeah, I don't know why I didn't go ahead and just attack these guys when Grand Columbia decided to go for them. That's much later in the game in the next episode, but it's a bit strange. I would eventually just, get some poor relations with El Salvador and annex them so that the borders look a little bit nice. Uh, mm, yep. And during this time, I'm trying to talk some like Diplo with the other players and whatnot. As you can possibly see, the Heavenly Kingdom spawned, but that didn't really end up doing much. As you could possibly see from the very top of the screen, my economy was not doing too well. Yeah, and the Brackles were pretty bad too. But it was actually today that I had realized that, oh, Japan actually took some land. And I see it now in this recording, I just didn't notice it at the time. Huh. So yeah, eventually, France gets that land. Uh, I actually can't really see in the footage right now if the Netherlands still have their treaty port there, but I don't think they do. Yeah, at this point here, I've now noticed my budget. I'm trying to figure out, like, hey, what should I do? And, I think that you should have better, or a government in order to collect more taxes. This is false, however. This was not a good idea. And here I was building up iron mines. I did do a, you know, little test game in single player, and I realized I definitely messed up the build horribly. Yeah, but very quickly we're going to find that you know the Austro-Hungarians, they were going to be annexed into the German Federation, the North German Federation, and it's going to lead to a to a rehost, and then it leads to an hour of desyncs. In fact, here the guy. Hi there. He was the guy that kept on desyncing. He was the American president. At this point, I was feeling a little bit, greedy, thinking maybe I could take the American lands at this time, but I was told no by Spain. Yeah, I was still salty about that when I recorded this. hmm So yeah, I saw that he keeps on joining and leaving sometimes, but also I saw that an illegitimate government had formed. Uh, yeah, that wasn't a very good thing. And all and the parties they always kept like changing and whatnot, and I didn't really want to have the landowners in charge in the beginning because they had some pretty poor laws. hmm But yeah, it was something. I couldn't really do laws. That was a big mistake on my part. Uh, yeah, so France here is actually pausing and whatnot. I'm looking over like some radicals, seeing how long it's gonna take until they're incorporated and whatnot. hmm And oh yeah, I realized that that was is the capitalists, those strange like clown-looking people. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Uh, we actually did a lot of like pausing in the game, and that's not a bad thing because a lot of times it's for Diplo to deal with like all the different claims and whatnot if someone did a play. But a lot of times people are also just waiting to catch up the people that are lagging behind. But yeah, let's see here. Uh, so I'm actually going forth a lot into the recording. I was paused for a long time. Jeez. Anyway, here, eventually, I was talking with Spain, and I told them that, hey, I still have some claims on the American lands, just not on California and Nevada. And, he thought that was actually pretty cool. But yeah, that's actually going to be the end of the game. So I want to, thank everyone for watching this episode, and maybe I will see you some other time. Actually, what am I saying? Maybe I'll definitely see you next time since I'm gonna do the next video soon. So, later.